Mm.
So Brian,
Yeah.
I don't got a movie idea.
Okay.
All right. So it's like the year far in the future. So or like 2030 or something like that. And Barack Obama has just died. And his daughter, Malia Obama, wins the presidency.
Wins?
But everyone's like, Obama has died, so America's weak. And that's when like Russia attacks. And they're trying to steal our stuff, but like, we beat them because we're better than the Russians.
Yeah.
But then, again, because America's weak now, because Obama died, the King of Mexico attacks. And he leads all the Mexicans to attack us.
Yes.
And then there's this big old battle, and there's only one way to get past, the wall that Donald Trump built in 2024 after he won the presidency again, and that's to go through the river,
Mm-hmm.
the illegal crossing.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that, and they do that. And they try to flood part of America, and Malia Obama's mother dies, and she has to go use the drone that Obama liked so much, and she's like piloting that and fighting the King of Mexico, who can fly. Don't ask questions. And they're fighting, and she's like, I know how to take his power away, because there's that really nasty slur for Mexicans about water on the opposite side of their chest.
Yeah.
And they dry him out because that's his one weakness. And she's gonna kill him, but she remembers the words of her father. You should kill him. You're not gonna win re-election if you do that, Malia. It's not gonna test well. You're gonna lose the Democratic vote. And she spares the King of Mexico. And I wanted to make this movie, but then I was told it's just the plot of Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Took me like a little while, and then I figured it out when you were...
I think I tipped it too hard when I said the King of Mexico can fly.
Yeah. Well, it was before that, but then I started thinking, this sounds like a story I've heard before. So yeah, as it turns out. And that's gonna be what? It's gonna get like a couple of Oscars. I mean, let's be real.
Easy. I mean,
it's so emotional. It's so meaningful. So okay, but anyway, hello everybody and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian and this is the Nerdcast, where Mike J and I get together and we discuss all things geek culture and nerdy stuff, right, along those lines. The show is intended to be more casual. Maybe you just have a few laughs, whatever. But sometimes, there could be a little room for rage, a little. And I try to leave a little space for that. Just a little space for that. All right. So, today's show, we got a lot to go through. There's this one thing. It's on the tip of my tongue that I really wanted to bring up. And I can't because I don't remember it. But if I do, I'll be sure to probably suddenly say, oh shit, yeah, now I know, right? But let's start with, I think the biggest thing that's going on right now is, speaking of Disney, there's been a change in leadership. Again. So Bob Iger, right? So Bob Iger used to run Disney a couple years back. I don't think he was gone for that long. And he's basically the guy that was responsible for most of the wokeness, because he hired on people, that were writers and showrunners and actors. And of course, this is what a lot of people are claiming about that. But yeah, so he kind of made Disney go super woke. And then he stepped down and he put the guy Bob. Oh crap! What's his name? Bob Chapek
Yep.
as in charge of CEO. And Bob Chapek, from what I understand, he wasn't with the company for very long. Most of the projects, that released under Bob Chapek's watch were already sort of, on in progress. And apparently, Bob Chapek is more of a money guy, and for whatever reason, all of the employees at Disney hated him because he wasn't particularly woke. I mean, he did say some woke things, but mostly it was like, from what I've heard, it's mostly out of fear. So he's he's basically doing it so he doesn't get into too much trouble with HR departments and the people at his own company. And so Bob Chapek was running things for a bit, didn't really do anything, and now Bob Iger is back in charge. And so, and of course, Iger is woke, and he's probably going to make Disney woke, right? Even more than it already was. So this is not a solution. This is going to make things worse for the Walt Disney Company, in my opinion. But like, what do you guys think about this? I've heard some interesting theories that I don't, I do think that Disney is fine with driving itself into the ground in order to preserve their ideology. And I mean, this is just what I've seen, the only thing that SJWs know how to do is double down. And so they're just going to double down until like no one is watching their content. And then they'll essentially blame them for it. Like, well, it's obvious that you don't have the vision that we have. So Richard Bier says, didn't they get rid of Kathleen Kennedy? I heard that was a rumor, but I don't know if that's true unless it's been confirmed. Very recently. I would be very surprised if they got rid of Kathleen Kennedy. But I did hear that there was a rumor that she might be getting canned.
Yeah, the rumors have been flying around pretty recently, like within the past 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even just from one place. I'm seeing like 4 or 5 different outlets swirl the rumor mill.
Yeah. And
go
ahead, Mike.
It's anyone's guess whether it's going to happen or not. The interesting thing that this is tied to is it's the rumor that whatever the new Star Wars movie is going to basically start ramping up within the next 5 years.
Isn't that the one I heard about? Isn't it called, like, I don't know, Acolyte or something?
I'm not sure about the name.
Yeah.
But they said like they're gonna start going into full production on it pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, I mean it's only one of the 3 that we know, I guess, of in progress. I think Kevin Feige's working on one. Michael Waldron's working on one, and I don't know if this is just something he said he wanted to do, or they're actually going to go with it, but he is a pretty big name, so I could see them definitely going with it. Taika Waititi wants to do
it. Oh no! Yeah, I did hear that, actually. I heard that Taika Waititi had an interest in it. I don't know, man. I think that, look, I liked, what was the movie with the vampires that were all like living in an apartment together?
What We Do in the Darkness or something like that?
Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows, right?
That one, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. What We Do in the Shadows. That was a Taika Waititi movie. I enjoyed it,
Yeah, it worked because it was ostensibly a comedy.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, it was.
And it wasn't It wasn't anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, is he gets put in to do all these other things, and it's like, okay, I'm going to make this movie, but it's also a comedy. I'm going to make this
Yeah.
movie, but it's also going to be a comedy. And it's like, not everything needs to be. You don't need to keep shoehorning jokes in every 5 seconds. See, this is what I was talking about the other week.
Mm-hmm.
Not everything needs to be a sitcom, minus
Yes.
the laugh track.
Yes. And the other thing too is if you look at Star Wars, because you know that there's every IP that has some history, that has a following, it also has a specific feel. Like there's a, you know, a certain things you're expecting tonally
Mm-hmm.
that you know, you're hoping to see. So like in a Star Wars movie, there, if you look at the classics, the good ones, you know, they'll have some jokes in there, but they're a bit dry, and you know, they're things that I think kids could get a chuckle out of. They don't, you know, they're not necessarily like really slapsticky. They're not necessarily like you know, designed to be shocking. Like they're basically things like laugh it up, fuzzball, and that's the joke, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, we laugh at it because Chewbacca is covered in fur, and really, it's not even that funny, but that is the joke. Or when he says, you know, when Leia says, calls him a scruffy looking nerve herder, and he says, "Who's scruffy looking?" That's another joke, right? But it's not a gut buster. It's not a knee slapper.
I miss that in the original film so many times because it's given such a dry delivery.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's funny if you're a kid. But if you're an adult and you've heard it a couple of times, you know, it's not like they needed to get a comedian to come out and come up with this. You know, they just put that in there, and in general, that is, you know, minus a few exceptions, that's the level of humor in Star Wars. It doesn't get crazy, you know. And so that's the kind of thing that concerns me, because I think he's going to bring a completely different feel unless he's like learned to tone it down, you know, dial it back. You know, this isn't about you. This is about Star Wars. But at the same time, though, I don't really have high expectations for anything that Disney is making anyway. So,
and I have no faith in Taika Waititi to do anything except pedal to the metal on the gas gauge for the jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I guess that speaking of Star Wars, I'm hearing a lot of excitement about this Andor show that's out, or that came out, or whatever.
I've heard exactly one person say it's decent, but I don't really trust his judgment, so...
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, I'm not going to watch it, but it could be that if this show tried harder to be more Star Warsy, because that's really, people don't necessarily need it to be like hardcore. They just want it to feel Star Warsy, which is pulpy. You know,
it's funny, every time I hear that phrase, it reminds me of oh god, that crappy little MMO that I used to play called Star Wars Galaxies, which
I remember that game, although I never played it.
I could go on rants right now, but I'm not going to, because that would take all show. Like the only thing to do in that game when you got to the end was like the 4 or 5 raids they had out and PvP, and that was it. And they kept adding stuff in there, and what the new hotness was in the world of Star Wars at the time was the prequels were running hot at that time, and so they kept adding in more prequel content. The only problem was the game canon, if you even gave a damn, which not most people didn't, but the game canon was this game was set between Star Wars 4 and 5.
Okay.
So essentially, like, you know, the rebellion wasn't in charge yet. The Imperials were still more or less running the show. It was very illegal to be a Jedi, stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And they keep adding in, like, oh, remember the oh god, I forget what they're called. RTSTs, like the little mini walker things the clone troopers had. It's like, remember those? We're gonna throw them out like that. We're gonna give you Queen Amidala's ship as a fast travel option. We're gonna give you all these things, and people are like, why do you keep adding stuff from the prequels? And they're like, oh, we just want to make the game more iconic and Star Warsy. And that became a word everyone hated.
Oh, Star Warsy. Yeah, I guess I could see that. No, I didn't mean to do that, but yeah.
It's just funny. Just every time I hear that from now on, that's from that point forward, that's what I think.
Yeah, I think that maybe there is so I think that there is such a thing as an aesthetic that is reminiscent of Star Wars, and I think that's usually what people are getting at when they say that something is Star Warsy. But maybe, and that makes it unique, you know? Like, Star Wars is like blasters that, you know, can be fatal, and it can also stun for some reason, you know, under the certain conditions, and lightsabers, and, you know, spaceships, and that's the general, you know, thing, but none of them are treated like they might have been in a really, what would you call it? Like a really deep or technical science fiction world. So like people who like Star Trek, for example, which is, you know, usually what we compare these to, they want to be able to tell you how everything works, or at least theoretically how everything works. So when they started developing in Star Trek, I think they had like this device that they invented that essentially ended all it ended all shortages. So like, you know, because it could duplicate anything. So there was no longer this idea that, you know, oh, we're running out of food, because you had this thing that could like create food. So it was a world without you know, shortages, basically. But Star Wars, and then they'll explain how it works somehow, right? Like, but Star Wars doesn't ask those questions. It doesn't, you know, it just wants to tell a fun adventure story in a science fiction world.
I mean, it lets you know what it's all about before the text scroll, you know, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's not concerned with specificity. It tells you that right there in those words. You know, it's not exactly 3.25 million years ago in this quadrant of the galaxy. No, it's just long-ass time ago in somewhat of an area that you're never going to see too far away.
Yeah, it's essentially like George Lucas saying, look, don't ask too many questions.
Just get caught up in the story. Don't get caught up on the details.
Yeah. And so that's why, you know, that's why the Star Wars universe is generally like, I don't think it's frowned on, but I think that it's you know, remember to bear in mind, you know, what it's supposed to be, and it's essentially like a fairy tale or a it's like a pulpy fairy tale. It's a pulp, you know. It's like Buck Rogers. It's like Flash Gordon. Yeah, and then, you know, or John Carter. You know, he goes to an alien world. He meets
and adventure happens.
Things.
Falls in love.
Yeah, falls in love.
Overthrows an evil ruler.
Yeah, and then he like gets the girl. And so, again, coming back to these changes that they're talking about in management, I don't know what's going to happen to Kathleen Kennedy, but if we learn something about this rumor being true, I wouldn't get too happy about that either. Because
Yeah.
unless the culture at Disney changes on some like deep level, it's probably not going to get better. And in many ways, I'll say this too: the damage has already been done. Like my faith in the Star Wars brand after everything that's happened is basically just gone. Like they'd have to just make a film that exists on its own. Maybe it's got nothing to do with the any of the other sort of like Star Wars plot lines. Like it doesn't have the Mandalorian in it. It doesn't have Boba Fett in it.
Doesn't have you never see a lightsaber.
Yeah, there might not even be a lightsaber. I don't know.
Yeah, I've always thought something like this could work. Like take it down to like the very surface level. Like Rogue One sort of did that, and that's why a lot of people liked it.
Mm-hmm.
You were just focusing on ground level stuff, the ground game, the guys in the trenches, not the grand admirals and leaders of the rebellion engaging the leaders of the empire fighting each other in big classic sword duels with lightsabers. It's just the everyman, the common man, just the people on the ground, the people in the mud, people fighting it out, duking it out. Like I think a drama like that could work.
Yeah. But I think that it would have to be something that doesn't try to attach itself. It could even be in a completely different, time. Like maybe they should.
Yeah, that too. That's the beauty of Star Wars as well.
Yeah, they could just like, I don't know, adapt the expanded universe. I think people.
It'd be super ballsy.
What?
Actually depict the rebels as fucking terrorists.
Yeah, that would be pretty ballsy. Yeah, that would be very ballsy. It's actually kind of risky, but okay. So
something tells me Mark Hamill wouldn't like it.
No, he probably wouldn't. So those are my thoughts on that. I don't think that. I think that Iger is going to make things worse, and Chapek probably didn't even do anything or not much while he was there, except like try to protect his job. And they're just going to continue to drive all of their franchises into the ground. I don't think it's going to get better. Remember, we're not just talking about Star Wars. We're also talking about a bunch of other properties, MCU, and that's, oh my God, that's just beyond salvaging. It's way beyond salvaging. I think that all of it's going to get worse, and I don't think that a change in CEO leadership is going to make a difference.
Especially back to the guy who
started everything.
Could be argued started all these problems.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll just follow it and see what other changes happen. This is not like David Zaslav, though. Is that his name? The guy from Warner Brothers that... I think it's Zaslav. He basically went in and just started firing people. That might be because like Warner Brothers was really fucking up too with a lot of their IPs, but I think that they can probably still course correct. Even though they're not exactly blowing my skirt up either. But I think that they want to make money, and I think that's what you need as your basis. I hate to say it for anybody who really hates Magritte. People who are trying to make money will probably try and give their audience what they want, and people who want to make statements will probably alienate their audience, if not attack them. So that makes sense. All right.
Time will tell.
So apparently, we're going to move on to the next story now. Let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. So the Marvel Avengers designer was removed as spokesperson over offensive tweets. All right, let's explain what that is. The Marvel's Avengers is a video game that was put out by Crystal Dynamics like last year. And it wasn't a very good game. Sadly. Not that I know of, okay? So they put out and I think it was supposed to be like, it looked good. I didn't like a lot of the artistic design choices, but in terms of like, you know, the graphics and everything and the action and all that, it looked pretty good. But apparently it wasn't a good game. It was very repetitive. It even had like cooperative multiplayer, which I was like very interested in because that's like something that I, you know, want to play. Like if I hear that there's something that has like multiplayer, cooperative, yeah, I want to play that, right? But apparently it's just not a good game and they couldn't pull it off. So that is what this is more specifically about. Brian Wagner is his name. He's been a public face for Marvel's Avengers since joining Crystal Dynamics in 2021. And you know, the graphics on it, they look funny because they have this like kind of Squaresoft, like where everyone's faces are just something awkward about them. You know, they look a little clean and polished. Crystal Dynamics says Marvel's Avengers design lead Brian Wagner, quote, will no longer be a studio spokesperson, end quote, or speak publicly about its projects after offensive tweets that he previously posted were brought to light by the community. So what are these offensive tweets that essentially got him canned, I guess? Or at least like and on top of that, I guess they are silencing him. So what are the tweets of great offense here? Well, posted over a period of years stretching as far back as 2011. So, you know, he's been doing this for a while. The tweets in question were voraciously racist, ableist, and homophobic. Not egregiously hateful, but plentiful, and most of them reflecting basic right-wing talking points like black-on-black crime. Or President Barack Obama's citizenship. Ooh. All of that's super racist, guys. I don't know if you know. Most of the tweets have since been deleted, but in a 2020 tweet that's still posted, Wagner described himself as a Trump voter. Okay. And that's it, huh? All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such incredibly hard-hitting things that no one else is saying out there, man. This is like some alt-right deep web stuff.
Yeah, Kanye West is blushing. But okay, so he talked about black on black crime, and there's a link, so maybe I can see the tweet that he made because, oh yeah, I can. So someone made a tweet saying, imagine if the outrage about Colin Kaepernick, so this is old, this is back when Colin Kaepernick was relevant, somewhat, not standing for the national anthem was the same about humans of color being murdered by police. And he responded, imagine if that outrage was the same as blacks killing blacks. And yeah, so all he said was something that's true. That, you know, black people, black men in particular, are more in danger of being assaulted or even murdered by other black men than by any other group. And he's basically saying, well, why isn't Colin Kaepernick upset about that? Then we got this. I'm not a woman hater, misogynist, or bigot, but I really don't like the idea of female Thor. I love strong women characters, but not this. It is days like today where I'm reminded how my Twitter feed is full of leftist bigots trying to make strawman arguments about right-wingers. I know this is a crazy idea to the left, but there are some who and did have questions about his citizenship and aren't racist. I'm not racist. I own a colored TV. Then we got his homophobia again. All of this is a stretch. I love my trainer. No homo.
Seriously, the worst you can call that is a bad joke.
You're not allowed to make bad jokes on Twitter. It's serious business, Mike. It's a serious space. Apparently.
And the worst part about all of this, I don't know if you mentioned it, but the worst part of all this is he wasn't even working with the company at the time of these tweets.
Yeah.
Like, the Colin Kaepernick one should date all of this. These are all ancient tweets.
Mm-hmm.
And I can almost understand, hey, company you're working for, you're the face of, you're the head of it, you're a very public figure. Try not to say anything dumb on social media. It may reflect poorly of the company you're working for. And yeah, okay, we're gonna have to let you go. You said something very egregious and it's hurting our bottom line. You should have, thought about this before you said anything. I can kind of understand that. I don't like it, but I can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, though, firing someone for shit they said years and years ago, when you could just very easily deflect all criticism by saying, well, that was then, this is now.
Mm-hmm.
This was years in the past. I don't see what relevance this has to anything. Fuck off.
Yeah, unless this is something that was engineered because someone wants his job.
I'm pretty sure this was a hit job, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what... I can't think of anything else it could be. Except, we're just going to destroy his career. They probably, took a bunch of screenshots and held on to them. And then waited
just
for
in
an
case
opportunity.
we need to sink this man.
Yeah. Yeah. So... and then we got him giving support to the Orange Man, where he says,
the biggest of all sins.
Yes, exactly. I get it. You're happy that Biden is projected to win. Just remember, every time you treat a Trump voter as the enemy or a moron, you're just enforcing why we voted for him. We all have our reasons, and it isn't some blanket approval of everything that he does.
And again, super milquetoast.
Yeah, these are all very milquetoast takes. There's nothing crazy going on here, and yet this is how they're behaving. Wagner apologized for the tweets after they surfaced and said he takes full accountability. Yeah, should not have apologized. Full accountability for the hurt that they caused to my followers, the community, and those I work with. Since that time, I have learned and grown. See, you should never do this. Never. And the content I posted doesn't reflect who I am today. Wagner tweeted on November 21st, 2 days ago. I understand if you cannot accept my apology because of the pain I have caused. I will continue to listen, learn, and work to improve myself. This is what they want.
The pain I caused over saying, no homo.
Yeah, right. I'm going to do better, and allow me to call this I'm gonna make a promise. I'm gonna make a commitment. It's like, don't do that. Please don't do that. You're just feeding into these people's ego, All right, Wagner joined Crystal Dynamics in April of 2021 to help turn around Marvel's Avengers. Well, that didn't work, which has floundered since its 2020 release. Since then, he's become the game's best-known public representative, in part thanks to a moment of incredible awkwardness and comedy when a plan to add She-Hulk to the game was leaked during a live stream that Wagner was taking part in. Just a few minutes after Wagner posted his apology, however, Crystal Dynamics said he will no longer be taking that role. It's incredibly disappointing to see language and views from employees that don't align with our studio values, Crystal Dynamics tweeted. We apologize to our community and coworkers who are rightfully upset by the content. Brian will no longer be a studio spokesperson or communicating about studio projects. Though the studio's message above states that Wagner is no longer a studio spokesperson, Crystal Dynamics left it unclear whether he was still working at the developer. And then they're basically saying that they reached out to him. Okay, so that, and I don't really care about any of that because this game is not good and it's doomed and it's not going to turn things around. But this story is absolutely insane. Like, this is where we are now. You know, this is where we are now. I hope that this company, I don't think people are going to boycott them over this. And they're definitely not going to boycott them over the quality of the game because they've already done that by not buying it. But I do feel like these people need to, I don't know, like, suffer some kind of loss, you know? Just some kind of loss because, in my opinion anyway, oh shit, I kind of made a mistake, I think. Switch account. I accidentally refreshed a page and I lost a super chat that was on there from Albert Nader Retro. Can you just send me a message saying what it is you have posted and just tag at Badger Labs live streams so that I can read it? Because I don't think I'm going to be able to do that now because I had to refresh my page. Oh, no, I still see it. Okay, never mind. Albert Nader Retro gives us $5 Canadian and says, Taika Waititi is out and Helmsworth doesn't want him back. Helmsworth said that he doesn't want to work with any more Mad Geniuses directors. All right.
Yeah, I read that comment too from Hemsworth, and it's one of those things that, like, you could definitely take as him being serious, but he could always play it off as I was just joking around, I was just fooling. And so it's going to be interesting how, I guess, the studio takes it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just a very, very soft, I don't want to work with this guy again. I'm going to say it in a fun way so I can walk it back if necessary.
Yeah. That sounds like something that Helmsworth would do too. You know, so yeah, so
I'm wondering if they're going to, like, approach him backstage and then be like, you know, were you real about that? And I hope he just goes, yes.
Yeah, really. I think that that would be good. I mean, I don't know, man.
Like, by the time we get to the next, like, you know, whatever the fourth Thor movie from here now is going to be, he's going to have an IQ of like 40.
Yeah.
He's going to have like 2 lines of dialogue, and it's just going to be like, Gah! And then he hits something with a hammer.
Yeah. Well, that's the mistake they made. They get like swept up in the moment of, you know, like where they have like a little bit of success. So, for example, not just with Thor, but we'll start with that. There was another example that's very similar though. So we get Thor, the first Thor. which I thought was great in my opinion. But and it had like some decent comedy, and it was basically doing the fish out of water thing. But that, that's kind of what you expect, from the character and the story. And it was pretty popular because we're getting all these, the Marvel thing was just starting out. And then you have the Thor: The Dark World, and I think that personally, I think Thor: The Dark World gets a bad rap. I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. And it's not just because like I'm, some kind of Thor fanboy. It's because I know what they were trying to do, and I think that it needed some like facelifts in terms of its tone and the seriousness of the story they were trying to tell, because the second one is pretty serious and it gets pretty dark. But I didn't think that they needed to kill Freya, for example, which that's what they do, right? They kill off someone to inspire. Like I think that's lazy. But in terms of how it felt, I thought that Thor: The Dark World is pretty comic booky, and that's kind of what I want to see, So, and I like that. And then, but I know that most people didn't. And they want, and I think part of it is, and this is a problem too, is they basically compare MCU movies to Iron Man, and that's like the one of the main problems, because they're looking at Iron Man and Iron Man's a great movie, but they're thinking all of the Marvel movies should be like Iron Man.
Yes,
and so they should all have comedic points, right? And
everyone's got to be trading zingers back and forth. No matter how serious and stoic the character is supposed to be. And that works for Iron Man, and that works more so. It works for Tony Stark. More so, it works for the actor.
Absolutely, it works for Robert Downey Jr.
And that's because he was a naturally funny guy. Mm-hmm. And I think. Wasn't it something like half of the jokes in there just came from him ad-libbing and them just running with it? And he was so good at that they just kept all of it in.
Yeah, most of the script in the original Iron Man movie was ad-libbed. Like especially in the scenes with Tony Stark and Obadiah Stane. It was mostly ad-libbed. And then they just picked their favorite bits, and then they just put them in, right? They just did a number of takes, and it works for that. It works
when it's organic, when it's just when it's happening. But now that you've got to script it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing too, is that I think that, and again, if you're gonna do this well, like they did Iron Man, it was a lightning in a bottle, and everybody wanted more of that. And so I think that they wanted Thor to be a little not as dour as the Dark World was, and they also, I believe, wanted that for Captain America. But the thing about that is that Captain America's a straight man. So if there's any jokes that are going to happen, they're going to happen around him, and he might react to them, and that's about it. So they couldn't really go with that. But then again, Captain America doesn't need to be hilarious, right? It still had a couple of funny moments, but mostly it wasn't hilarious. And so I think that is the primary issue, is that and when Taika Waititi came, it was like they thought, well, we got another James Gunn. And of course, James Gunn nailed beyond my wildest expectations. He nailed Guardians so well that everyone wanted every Marvel movie to be Guardians. So in a way, he kind of caused that too. And so now, between him and Taika Waititi, you're this is why everything is wild, OMG, so random, comedy stuff, because they've lost track of what is important and what is a good fit for something. And so I think that is their biggest mistake, is that they basically they got away from the soul of what was being adapted, and they tried to remake it in whatever they believe it should look like, which is a Taika Waititi comedy with screaming goats. So that's basically what I think they did wrong. And this is also why the Hulk movie is often overlooked too, because it was like again, how do you make that funny? And it's not that you should, but there's probably ways. So
you right there?
I just had to sneeze. I was trying to mute.
Made your audio go crazy.
Yeah, I tried to mute, but it didn't work in time. All right, but anyway. So, too bad about that guy. That sucks. I don't know what to tell you, man. But I would look for another job at a company that doesn't hate me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there are any... Well, look, here's the thing. You're not going to easily find, a video game developer that, is not woke. I think that that's kind of, pretty standard. But you can probably find a company where profits and success are higher priorities than some kind of political messaging, and try to work for them. The other thing I was thinking about was that if they're hungry and they're a new developer and they have they're very ambitious, you could probably seek them out, because I think it's only the really big bloated companies that tend to become woke, because they think that they're basically too big to fail. So that's my instinct. That's what it says. And that's what I would suggest. So hey, have you heard of this game? It looks like Dead Space. You know what I'm talking about, Mike?
What game? What are we talking about?
It looks like Dead Space, but it's not Dead Space. But I think it's developed by some of the people.
Does it got a name?
It's I gotta look it up. It's something Protocol, I think.
Callisto Protocol, something like that.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I've looked at it and it looks interesting. I heard there was a bit of a snafu with the DLC. They're pay $20 for new death animations or something like that. It's really, are we there? Is that where we've become?
Oh no! Why would you
I'm
do that?
kind of wary for the moment, but
yeah,
from what I saw, it looked cool.
Yeah, it did. It did until I heard what you just told me. And you know what? I'm glad that you did, because it was kind of on my list of games that I might, have to pick up.
Yeah, but they're doing a reading a little more into it now, because I googled it. They're gonna do a season pass thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I can totally see that this is what they've been probably goaded into by the industry to have.
Yeah.
And as far as I can tell, it's a single player game. I always have no idea what the hell they're thinking when they're putting season passes in a single player game.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of weird, unless they're gonna add some kind of multiplayer later. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. That's another I guess, I don't know. It's just something that I just don't understand. Unless, again, they're gonna make it multiplayer.
So I'm probably gonna wait to see what they what it looks like. But yeah, it's single player. There's no multiplayer element to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be really interesting to see what they do, because like I said, yeah, it's at least one of the guys uh that worked on the original Dead Space going at this, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what the game really reminded me of. And I mean, I don't want to say I'm hyped, but I really want to see something cool like that. Like, I love the Dead Space universe. I love the Dead Space mechanics. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going through Dead Space 3, and a game a lot of people hated, but I loved. I'm going through that with a friend right now because I've got like a standing offer to go through the third game with just about anybody because I liked it so much. And I just want more Dead Space, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's what I figured this was, because it's not like they were truly trying to hide the fact that Callisto Protocol is essentially another Dead Space. Um but yeah, like I don't know, some of that more exploitative stuff is a bit worrying.
Yeah, so
So
tentatively watch.
yeah, so if you guys are interested in Callisto Protocol, did you know about that? And maybe you know something about the game that we don't. So feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. And now we're going to move on to the next story. This is the one about Marvel Studios. So I guess I'll just read this. It's like a screenshot of a post by the Geekster. And they said, during a recent interview on the podcast The Town with Matthew Baloney, Marvel producer Nate Moore opened up about why Marvel refuses to hire fans to write their movies. Quote, for me, one thing I think is interesting about Marvel's process, and specifically for writers, I would say, a lot of times we are pitched writers who love Marvel. And to me, that's always a red flag. Because I go, quote, oh, I don't want you to already have a pre existing idea of what it is because you grew up with issue 15 and that's what you want to recreate. I want somebody who's hard on the material, who goes, what is this? I think there's a movie here, but maybe we should be looking at it this way. And I think, again, the best example of that for me was Marcus and McFeely, who weren't comic guys coming up, but were like, wait, Captain America, that seems a bit weird. What if we looked at it in this way? And they weren't married to anything. Nothing was. There was nothing sacrosanct. And I think that's important to be able to go, quote, look, the source material is great and I love it. And comics work great in the medium that they were built in. But that's not a direct one-to-one translation to the best version of the movie. And sometimes it takes someone who's out of this culture to go, quote, hey, I know that you think it should be this, but maybe it should be this other thing, end quote. So,
I am of two very distinct minds on this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to knee jerk to normies get out
Yeah.
but at the same time, I see what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, you want people that are going to be flexible. You want people that are going to be able to come at this from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just want one person who's going to be locked into, like, it has to be this, it has to be that, it's got to be these things, or else, how else are you going to make the thing?
Right. Yeah. Except that here's the thing. I don't think that fans are that inflexible. Because like I've seen film adaptations of pretty popular comic book runs in older movies. Like, well, they did Civil War, for example. And it was nothing like the Civil War from the books, but it was a really good movie. And I think that they compromised in the places where it made the most sense. And I think they worked with what material they had to essentially get the sort of like spirit of what, Civil War was as a series of books. So I think that you do have to be a fan to do that, because there's like an essence of the characters and of the stories that you should be fighting tooth and nail to preserve, without necessarily spurging out or getting caught up in, well, we have to have the Punisher in this. Like, you don't have to do any of that, but you can get a solid grasp of the central point. Like, do you remember? I'm gonna bring up something that might make people cringe, but there was that X-Men movie, and it involved, I think, time travel or something. Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah.
And they had like they bent all kinds of rules because they wanted to get this crossover. They wanted to bring in the X-Men from the late late 90s, early 2000s movies with like Patrick Stewart and stuff, and they wanted to bring in the First Class, and they used some harebrained way of essentially like allowing Wolverine to travel back in time.
Yeah, they gloss over it so hilariously briefly.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
we're gonna send your mind in the future back to the past, and you can only do the only one because shut up. We're just gonna do it already.
yeah, exactly. But people, I mean, look, fans didn't care because they just wanted to see that.
Yeah, because it created a good movie,
and it did make for a pretty good movie. I mean, Days of Future Past is not bad considering, and this is well before. This is well before we were concerning ourselves with things like, the multiverse consistency. So, like, they were just like, yeah, we're just going to do that. And then, like, I think that, like, when, what I'm concerned with is when this guy says, I think that that's a red flag when comic book fans want to help write comic book movies or be involved in their production. I think that what it sounds like he wants to do is just like make sure that he has complete carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do without anybody having being an obstacle to that. And that he doesn't want the comic books or the source material to be an obstacle. He just wants to be able to throw it out, right? And I think that for me is a red flag. It's massive. And there are ways, like I said, to give the audience what they want. So if you tell people, yeah, we're going to do what was it called? Like the Dark Avengers or Midnight Suns or whatever. And we're going to have Blade, and we're going to have Ghost Rider, and we're going to have Moon Knight, and we're going to, have, I don't know, there's probably a female character that'll work. And we're just going to do it using the comics as, as the basis of our inspiration, maybe even taking most of a story, because a lot of the, I don't know. I think the guys who write comics that were doing it when it was, a good thing, like they knew how to write, they could tell stories that were the rival of high-end TV shows and movies. So it's not like it's not within their reach. And I think that if, they do that, then it could be a massive hit. Like, I would watch the shit out of, a crossover with Blade and Moon Knight and stuff. Even though I hate Moon Knight right now because I don't like the interpretation. but you basically would just have to redo it. Um, so and Daredevil, maybe, I don't know if he counts as one of these like nighttime heroes, but I guess it could. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts. Like I'm more cynical about this than you. I could see where you're coming from because there are people who well, this is the problem that maybe I don't want to say I have seen some showrunners or filmmakers that they become like really spurgy on, accuracy, but then the product isn't very interesting. So I certainly don't want that.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing that can go both ways. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes like disregarding all everything is the way to go. Like oh god, the famous story with Michael Bay when he's
What?
doing Armageddon, and
Yeah.
I forget who, I think it was one of the actors who's like reading the script, and it's like, so they're gonna train drillers to become astronauts and then shoot them onto the asteroid
Yeah. Wouldn't it be
and
easier
do it.
to?
Wouldn't it be easier to train the astronauts how to be drillers? To which Michael Bay very calmly responded, "Shut the fuck up." And yeah, that gets us Armageddon, which, hey, for what it was a fun little movie.
I liked Armageddon.
And
I'm not
that's
afraid
a
to
way to
admit it.
go.
I'm not
Yeah,
afraid to admit it. Michael Bay,
he knows how to make shit blow up on screen.
he does. He's good at spectacle. And I think, I saw this comment. Speaking of, while we're still talking about Marvel stuff, I guess, I saw that there was like, this supposedly like Quentin Tarantino, he shit all over like Marvel movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, in some interview. And then I guess like Chris Evans tried to like come at him and, whatever, right? He owned him. He was destroyed on Twitter, and they're still cleaning up the mess. And I saw that, and I also saw this before, like a while with Martin Scorsese. He had a lot of not nice things to say about. I guess he didn't about the Marvel movies, but really what he's talking about is like the broader culture of filmmaking, right? Like what it is
Mm-hmm.
now. And he's mostly putting the blame on these big budget superhero films. But I was kind of on the fence about that. Like, here's the thing. When is Quentin Tarantino gonna, like, how frequently is he gonna give us movies? Like, I know that he's ultimately talking about himself when he says that movies today are all shit or whatever, right? And they're not classics, right? He's basically saying they're not mine. But the thing is, it for any director, okay? So I'm not like specifying anyone. For any director that is worth their salt, it's going to take like what, 2 years to make a movie? So are people just supposed to wait until your movie comes out and not watch anything? Another thing is that, and this is the same. I said, with Scorsese too. It's like, dude, I like your movies, but I can't watch your movies all the time, right? And so my other thing is that I believe that sometimes people just want to watch something entertaining and stupid, and they don't need it to be like highbrow art.
Exactly.
They don't need it to make them think about the rainforest or to think about the nature of heaven and hell or any of that. They just want to be.
Sometimes I just want to watch I just want to watch Keanu Reeves shoot a bunch of people.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like saying, well, John Wick is like a dumb movie because it's just a guy killing other guys. I guess if that's how you want to feel about it, but like I still want to watch it. And the truth is we need some entertainment because again, waiting for the masters to put out another like magnum opus, it's gonna take too long, and people want to watch movies and shows now. And so that's why, again, this stuff exists. Like, is it, and you need we need people like Tarantino and Francis Ford Coppola and Martin Scorsese and, what's the name of the Michael Mann and the guy who directed Matthew Vaughn and and like others like that. We need those guys because they make great films. Some of them are like the Spielberg, gigantic epics. But some of them they're just solid little movies, and you want to watch them, but you also need like the guys who make the ridiculous comedies, like the Judd Apatow, filmmakers, or I don't know, like the guys that basically just make sweet little romances. Like, you need everybody. So like, I guess I'm just like, all right, well, and you need Michael Bay. And I'm sorry, but like, how do you not like The Rock? That's like an amazing film.
The movie, not the actor.
Yeah, The Rock, not the actor, not Dwayne Johnson. I'm talking about.
Just gotta specify. Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Rock. With
have you ever heard the Rock conspiracy theory?
No. What's the?
The Rock is a James Bond movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and
I love that one.
I do too. I've actually talked about that because he says he alludes to it plenty of times in the movie.
Yep.
Albert Nada Retro gives us $10 Canadian, says the writing was on the wall when Sharon Carter eulogized her aunt with Captain America's River of Truth speech with a feminist twist. MCU died for me when Zeus sexually assaulted Thor as comedic relief. Thank you for that. Yes, I know that they did that, and I didn't care for it, but and I'm talking about the speech. So, yeah, I didn't care for it, but it's not really surprising. And I will say, at least they didn't use it to shit on Cap. But I think it would have been better if Cap had said it. And I think they really wanted Sharon Carter to do something useful. But it doesn't matter because they threw all that out anyway. So, like, he ends up with her. They seem to share similar values. He probably got them. She probably got them from her aunt. And all of that was, kind of great or whatever. But then he just doesn't have an interest in her anymore. And that whole romance is just thrown out. So it was like a waste of time to set up. So they should have just let him say it. All right, but anyway. So those are the thoughts. What do you guys think about Marvel producer Nate Moore's comments about how he finds that it's kind of a red flag if there are people who are fans, or maybe he's suggesting that they could be too attached to the source material.
I do want to say my comments at the beginning of this. I was basically giving the most charitable representation of this.
Yeah, sure, I get it.
I'm probably not what he's trying to say at all. He's probably basically trying to say, like, yeah, I'm bringing in people that probably actively hate the franchise, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's probably true. Because I think that's what they ultimately want is to put enough, and this is what they did with Wakanda Forever and She-Hulk and whatever. They put enough of a reference to the source material to get people interested. So it's like giving them a little doggy treat, a little morsel, but they don't actually deliver. They throw it all out, or worse, And I think that is very disgusting. But all right, we're gonna move on to. We got 2 more stories and 20 minutes, so we're gonna move on to the next one. Apparently, Sonic co-creator Yuji Naka has been arrested for alleged insider trading. This comes as part of a wider investigation into 2 other former Square Enix employees accused of the same. Ooh, shit. Dirty pool going on. Yuji Naka, co-creator of Sonic the Hedgehog and director of Balan Wonderworld, ooh, I remember that flop, has been arrested on the basis of alleged insider trading. According to Fuji News Network, through The Verge, former Square Enix employee Taisuke Sasaki, who has worked on both the Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts series, has attained information that Square Enix and Aiming would be developing Dragon Quest Tact. Sasaki apparently learned of this prior to the announcement of the game, publicly revealed on February 5th, and along with another former Square Enix employee, Fumiaki Suzuki, allegedly purchased 162,000 shares in Aiming between December 2019 and February of 2020 for roughly 47.2 million yen, which is about $300,000. FNN reports that Naka was also allegedly aware of the Aiming deal, purchasing 10,000 shares for about 2.8 million yen, which is about 20 grand prior to the reveal. So, do you have any thoughts on this? Or,
I mean, I've always thought insider trading was a stupid thing, as a stupid law. Like, you know something and you're trying to profit from it. Isn't that just what the stock market's about? Period.
I don't know much about
And
it.
it's like, no, you have to guess. You have to completely blindly guess whether this stock go up or stock go down.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it is a law, so try not to break it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would suspect,
or at least, be a little smarter about it.
When you work at a company, you're probably going to have some idea as to how well they're doing. So, I don't know.
Because I've always looked at it from like the opposite way. It's like, if I have a shitload of money in a company and I work for the company and I see a big downturn coming up that I could not possibly recover from, why is it now my duty to not pull all of my money out of the company and ride the ship into the fucking graveyard? Why would I have to do that? Why should I have to ruin my life because I know something bad's going to happen and I could do something about it, but the law says no, that bad.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. Albert Nader Retro gives us $10 Canadian and says the writing on the wall. Oh no, I already.
Yeah, you already read that.
Yeah, I already read that. Sorry, that was weird. Like my back room refreshed on its own.
Yeah.
It like moved that up, so I was like, oh, is that new? Yeah, I don't know. It's just this shit is a little goofy. So, what else is going on with this story? Naka was developing Balan Wonderworld. What a shame. With Square Enix at the time, and alongside Sasaki and Suzuki, that's not confusing, has been arrested on insider trading charges. Squeenix, that's what we used to call it. Squeenix provided a statement on the matter saying, quote, as the investigation by the Tokyo District Public Prosecutor's Office is underway, we will continue to fully cooperate with their investigation. We deeply regret the great concern that this has caused to all concerned. We have dealt with this incident strictly, including internal disciplinary actions taken against the suspected employees. So, yeah, I mean, probably shouldn't have been doing that. I don't know what else to say. So,
Or at the least, just be smarter about it.
Yeah, or
fly under that radar.
See if you can. Exactly. All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about that one in the comments. I got one more to go. This one's just dumb, but I thought I would point it out. Remember when I said I talked a little bit earlier about this kind of like these elitist directors that are just trying to find something to shit on, and they're just like, oh, what's the big thing right now? Is it comic book movies? Oh, those are garbage. If you let isn't it there was like this rumor going on for a long time that Tarantino was going to make a Star Trek film.
God, I would pay to see that in theaters day one.
No, this has been going on for a while.
Just a bunch of music from the 80s for absolutely no reason. Everyone's using like real guns, not phasers.
Yeah.
Like, I want a female character to like walk on the set and like she has this long conversation with like the captain or whatever, and eventually the audio like just goes completely mute as the camera just slowly pans to her feet and stays on it for like a solid minute.
And of course she happens to be barefoot at the time.
Yes.
No, I mean, like, there was a rumor for a long time, and I think that it's still coming up. Like, I saw something recently about it on Facebook somewhere that Tarantino either wants to or is working on a pitch or something for a Star Trek movie. And I think that he may have said in interviews that he was a fan of Star Trek, but he was talking about the original series, and I think it's because essentially he liked Captain Kirk and how alpha he was. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that'd be. Look, I'm open to it because maybe he'll make it in a way that he's never made any other movie before. But that's the amount of faith that is being asked. So
yeah.
But anyway, so you heard about that, right? And so now we got this. So you guys know about the Mario Brothers movie.
I'm sure a few people have heard about this thing that's happening.
Yeah, you guys might have heard about this. And apparently, Luigi actor John Leguizamo calls out Mario movie casting.
And when we say Luigi actor, we mean from the old movie.
Yeah.
The live action one.
Yeah.
The kind of weird, shitty, but cult classic-y, like, so bad it's kind of good movie.
Yeah, the one with Bob Hoskins.
R.I.P. Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins, Dennis Hopper. It was a weird movie. And I didn't...
about, like, people that aren't familiar with source material, and this one just goes fucking off the rails completely.
Yeah, this is another example of the thing I was talking about before when I said that, some people, they just throw out almost like this one threw out like 95% of the source material. I mean, the only thing they basically got
you
right...
could change a few names and change a few costumes, and it would have nothing in common with the original.
Yeah.
Or with the source material, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And, but for some, it's got like a place, right? I mean, it was a movie, and I guess it entertains for like 2 hours or however long it is.
Yeah, the story behind the production of that movie, you gotta give it a listen sometime because it's just bonkers.
Yeah. So anyway, here's what happened. So the co-star, I guess, of the original Super Mario Brothers movie from like the 90s or whenever it came out, John Leguizamo is not a fan of the new Super Mario casting During an interview with IndieWire, the former Luigi actor, and it's funny because this is a film that did not do well when it first hit theaters. I know, shocker. And it sort of, if it has any status at all, if any, it could be a minor cult classic. Only because of how weird and bad it is, you know? So they're basically saying this guy is an actor who played Luigi in this movie. And it's funny because they're sort of giving him prestige that is really below his station because, you know, John Leguizamo was in some pretty good movies. I don't know why he's making this into his crusade. You know, to me, it makes no sense. But the former Luigi actor complained about the upcoming movie's lack of diversity compared to the 1993 film. The actors Annabelle Jankel and Rocky Morton fought really hard for me to be in the lead because I was a Latino man. And the studio didn't want me to be the lead, he said. They fought really hard, and it was such a breakthrough. For them to go backwards and not just cast another actor of color kind of sucks. So he is saying that because he is Puerto Rican and he played an Italian plumber once, that was a step forward, a step towards progress, right? And and now that I don't know who's doing the voice of Luigi in the new
Charlie
movie.
Day.
Charlie Day. Oh yeah, that's right. He's the guy from It's Always Sunny, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So he's white. So that's a problem, obviously. But okay.
I guess so.
It must be, yeah.
John Leguizamo said so I guess so.
Yeah, that's right. Latino men can apparently complain like this. And so, you know, it's a step backwards. They cast two white guys to play Mario and Luigi in this new movie. And that's what Leguizamo was saying, right? That shouldn't have happened. They should have just cast him. And he could have played both Mario, and since Bob Hoskins is no longer with us, R.I.P. You know, they should have just done that.
I wonder if he was against Bob Hoskins playing Mario.
I don't know. That's a good question.
What was Bob Hoskins? Because he just screamed white guy to me. Whoa.
Yeah, he's white.
Where was he from?
I think he's from England. I think he's from the UK actually. So he's really white.
English actor. Yep.
Yeah,
Double
that's like
white.
That's really white. Yeah, because it shocked me when I think I saw him in a couple of movies where he's using his normal accent. I believe it's English. And I was kind of like, whoa, because I knew him as, you know, Eddie Valiant. That's how I knew him. That was the
thing too. I'm like, wow, this guy does a phenomenal English accent.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait, no, that's his real voice. The other thing's oh my god, that man. Mm-hmm. He's got some range on him.
He's got range, or had. So anyway, back to this. The Super Mario Bros. Movie cast was unveiled back in September of last year, with Chris Pratt famously taking the iconic role of Mario. Which, by the way, after I saw the trailer, it's not that bad. Like, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's not that bad.
I mean, it's more or less Chris Pratt just sounding like Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I'm not super in love with it, but it's passable.
Right.
And, you know, maybe after we hear him say more than like 4 words, it'll change my mind, but...
Well, that's already more than Mario has ever said, to my knowledge, so...
That wasn't whoop, wahoo!
Exactly. All right, he is joined by Charlie Day as Luigi, as well as Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach, Jack Black as Bowser, who again I kind of liked Jack Black as Bowser.
I'm just happy that the Bowser was not just
Jack Black
as
being
one Jack Black in a Bowser costume.
Yeah.
He actually,
starts playing guitar. Yeah, sure. No, I don't know. I don't know what they're going for here, but there might actually be. I don't know. There might actually be a desire to sort of experiment with their voice acting abilities to some degree, but I'll have to see. So anyway, Jack Black as Bowser, Keegan Michael Key as Toad, which is again a bit weird, and Seth Rogen.
I think he did a pretty good job in the trailer.
Yeah.
He was the one that did the majority of the speaking, so he's the one you got the feel for the best.
And Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong.
That's the one I'm scared of. That is the one. If I hear the laugh once, I'm reflexively punching whoever is to the left of me in the theater.
Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I'm not, I don't like Seth Rogen, but I'll give him a shot at pulling this off. Additionally, Kevin Michael Richardson will voice Kamek. Is Kamek the wizard?
Kamek, yeah, Magic Koopa. He's kind of like Bowser's number 2.
All right. Fred Armisen will voice Cranky Kong. So, is that the old member of the Donkey Kong family? The old man?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah, sure.
And Sebastian Maniscalco will voice Foreman Spike. I don't know who that is. Leguizamo,
too esoteric for me. I don't know those characters either.
Leguizamo has since slammed the casting as all white. So glad Super Mario Bros. Is getting a reboot, he said via Daily Mail. Obviously, it's iconic enough, but too bad they went all white. No Latinx in the leads. Groundbreaking colorblind casting in original. Plus, I'm the only one who knows how to make this movie work script-wise. So, it just sounds like sour grapes.
Really, John? You're the only one that could make this movie work script-wise?
The Mario Brothers movie?
You're the only one that knows the deep lore of Mario. He's
the only one that can do this.
Only one, Brian.
Wow. He's like, this is a funny admission. Whether or not you agree with Leguizamo, the new animated Mario unveiled its first official trailer recently, with some fans disappointed by Mario's voice. I wasn't bothered by it too much, but Chris Pratt saying he's worked so hard on the Mario voice only for it to sound like Chris Pratt is the funniest thing, said one Twitter user. Despite this, the trailer was generally well received, with plenty of interest in Mario's latest big screen adventure.
My favorite joke was like before the trailer came out and before we were like, hey, Chris Pratt's actually kind of decent. My favorite like meme that was going around was like, this just in, Chris Pratt to voice Garfield in the new Garfield movie, or this just in is like just putting him in wackier and wackier things to voice, like things he definitely shouldn't be voicing. And then one of the ones was like, this just in, Chris Pratt to voice you in your movie.
People are saying that I'm not up on my Super Mario lore. No, well, you know what? I bet if I saw images of these characters, I would be like, oh yeah, I've seen that. But by name, nah. Some of them are a bit obscure. And honestly, I haven't played a Mario game since Super Mario Sunshine, and I didn't even finish that. So I'm sure I missed out on quite a bit. Okay, but anyway. So yeah, that's that. Leguizamo wants the work, apparently, and he's willing to use guilt to get it. Albernated Retro gives us $2 Canadian and says Bob Hoskins owes his career to Jessica Rabbit. No. No, I think
I wouldn't go that far.
I wouldn't go that far.
He was established before that.
Very established, very. And my favorite character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit was his, like, Eddie Valiant. He was my favorite character in that movie. I know a lot of people think of one of the cartoons, but like, and they're all great, but Eddie Valiant is the human that moves the story. So,
yeah, like he made all that work. And one of the things that people don't realize, well, I mean, maybe not realize is the right word, but one of the things people overlook is it's really hard, especially in that day and age, to do those animated, well, like partially animated movies, because you got to think about it. Obviously, no one is seeing any of that. And so the actor is just reacting to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoskins was so good at reacting to nothing and selling the fact that he's interacting with, this zany cartoon rabbit and these evil weasels and this, absolutely stacked lounge singer, that it was all believable. And then that was such a good sell.
Yep. And I think that the time period that they did it, I don't know if it could have been done any better than what they did. With, considering, yeah, you could probably do this today and it would probably be easier, but
but it wouldn't have that charm,
No.
Everything would be overly CGI'd.
Exactly. They'd be more concerned with
Jessica Rabbit would be wearing a burqa.
Yeah, exactly. She'd be wearing pants, and she
wouldn't even be in the movie. She'd just you just hear her voice. That'd be it.
Yeah, exactly. Or she'd be like a modern woman wearing pants and helping, Eddie Valiant fight off the weasels and stuff with her kung fu.
Well, she owns the detective agency. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, she's the boss.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. All right. So anyway, let us know what you guys think about this story about John Leguizamo. I think this is it's just sad. It's a guy that just really wants a role, and he's just bitching online, and I think it's sad. I mean, that's not gonna work out for you, my man. You're not a woman. You don't have the ability to do that because you are not a woman. A woman could potentially make this work if she wanted to complain and get a job. But you're not that, so it's not gonna work for you. All right. So with all that out of the way, we're gonna go hang out in the patron show with the patrons and just kind of shoot the shit. That other story I was trying to think of is just gone. I can't think of it. But
darn.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? I don't think it was timely. Like, I don't think that it mattered if I like brought it up today or in a week. But it was something that I was like really interested in talking about. So I don't know. I'll remember hopefully sometime between now and next time, and I'll be sure to write it down. But we're gonna head into the patron show. I'd like to hear what your guys' thoughts are on what we discussed on the show today. And let us know. And yes, Bob Hoskins was a classically trained actor. That's right. He well, like many English actors, they would just do Shakespeare. Like, oh, we're just going to do some Shakespeare. I ain't got nothing to do today, so I guess I'm just going to do that. And many of them are, classically trained. And so they're good at what they do. And, again, not to shit on American actors, because there's plenty of good ones, but English actors, I think they're kind of operating on another level. So
yeah, it's like, you be King Lear one day and then be a film noir detective interacting with cartoons the next. That
exactly.
takes incredible range.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. With all that said, if you want to hang out with us in the patron show, become a badger. Go to feedthebadger.com, $5 a month will get you into the Discord, where you'll be able to participate in all of the additional chit chat and conversations, and also like the activities, like there's game nights and movie nights and things like that. So I hope to see you guys there. And now if you guys like this video, I'm going to ask that you smash the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you know when our streams go live. Leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed, and most importantly, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of the Nerdcast, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.